Hey, what's up? This is Untitled guitarist, founder of Dark from day one. Be sure to tune in to my friend Chris and Mega Talks podcast and keep doing what you're doing. Much love. Peace out.
Man, that is just a killer intro. That is the new song by Dark from day one. It's called Giants. You need to be following those guys on Facebook, Instagram. Check out their website. And if you hadn't, I interviewed the guitar player from this band, Natel John, in episode 31 of the Make It Talks podcast. So if you haven't, go back and check it out and see how his project come together in his evolution. Today I have on the show a friend of mine. Her name is Paula White. Been friends with her for a long time. You may know her from selling cars or maybe being a bail bondsman. Either way, you're going to learn how she became Miss Ganjapreneur. So without any further delay, let's get into the podcast and find out what Paula has to offer. All right, everybody, welcome to the Mega Talks podcast. I'm Christopher Thompson here with a longtime friend. We go back a ways. Her name is Paula White, the Ganjapreneur. And just kind of, Paula, if you would, just kind of tell me how you coming about the name, the Ganjapreneur.
Well, actually, Chris, it's Ms. Ganjapreneur, okay. So MS. I'm keeping the lady side evident. I'm all about women in business, women in the cannabis industry. I always want to promote other. Well, that sounds really feminist, but I want to make sure that I stay on track with that because I really think that there's a big move for women in the cannabis industry right now. So, Ms. Ganjapreneur.
Nice.
So I've always, I guess, kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was in business with my dad my whole family for many years. We had a car dealership and an auto auction. I was a bail bondsman. I've done a lot of things in my life that connected me to people. But the thing that really works on my heartstrings is people who are in need of cannabis as medicine. So I kind of melded the things together. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm interested in cannabis. I want to make some products with CBD that are attainable by the masses, and so Miss Ganjapreneur just kind of just came about.
Seemed natural.
Yeah.
And let's go back because you said like you've been bail bondsman, car auctioneer. You've done a lot of different things in business. So when you know business, you can kind of transfer to that to different aspects of your life. So hey, have that entrepreneurial spirit. And I can understand where you're coming from with that, but like you don't live where you grew up now. Like what city do you live in now? Like your business?
Yeah, my business is actually listed in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. We live on the outskirts, over toward Lake Tenkiller, beautiful area. And it's actually in the Ozark Mountains.
Nice.
I didn't know when I was looking for a place right in Oklahoma. That even existed. You think of Oklahoma as I-40, flat, cows, things
Desert.
that are not so attractive. Yeah. So I actually worked on the cannabis campaign in Arkansas for many years. I gathered signatures. We petitioned to be placed on the ballot. That was about a 7-year long ordeal. And I didn't really know at the time that I wanted to be in the cannabis industry. I just knew that it was good medicine. I suffer from migraine headaches, and I started using cannabis as medicine. And just to go back, I think all of us probably experimented a little bit as kids or teenagers or young adults in cannabis, just curious. Of course, we knew it as marijuana, and it was a way to get high, and that's just what that's how it was how we looked at it.
Yeah.
Had no idea until way later in life that it had any medicinal properties, as most people don't. And we're still educating today in that respect. But I started using cannabis as medicine for my migraine headaches, and I was suffering. Each headache is about a 3-day ordeal, and I was having, at one point I had 30 in 1 year. So I basically gave up 3 months of my life to those migraines, and I just thought there has to be a better way. And I do still supplement with pharmaceutical medication if I have a headache, but I've been able to use the cannabinoids from the cannabis plant seem to really work well for me. And I'm now down to, it's not 100%, I'm not cured, but I end up now with maybe 1 or 2 headaches a year. So
that's a whole lot better
huge
than
change.
30.
Absolutely. And that medication that I take, again, I just take it at onset. So I'm not on any, consistent pharmaceuticals. And it was so life-changing for me that I had to share that news. So I ended up, like I said, working the Arkansas campaign for many years. I actually co-sponsored the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Act, and things didn't go exactly as planned. Arkansas did adopt a medical program, and then it became just monopolized. It's all about money. It was really hard to get into the business there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for a license. They were only going to choose a few. So at that point, I actually made some other changes in my life. I divorced after a long time and decided to move to Colorado. I wanted to immerse myself in the industry and learn as much as I could. So I lived there for a couple of years and didn't really pursue a business license there. It was always in my mind, or it had become part of my thought process anyway. And the opportunity in Oklahoma passed one of the most liberal cannabis laws, medical programs rather, in the United States. And so the barrier to entry was small. We were able to come over, and now I have a cultivation license. I'm in, like I said, out around Lake Tenkiller. I live in the mountains, and I grow plants for a living, and it's amazing. I'm so happy that I can make a product and that's actually going to hopefully give someone else some help, as far as their health goes, like it did for me.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was wondering about, because like the, I guess you say, transformation between one state to the next, and you kind of, is that where you kind of got like most of your education, or to like Colorado?
Hands-on, definitely. Through the process of the campaign, I studied. I talked to so many people. Some really good interactions, some really bad ones. A lot of people. Arkansas is a very conservative state, and people were not ready, or so they thought, for a medical cannabis program. So I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, but I think I gained good background in Arkansas as I was going through that process. Like I said, I went to a lot of seminars. I went to every medical marijuana commission meeting that was held. So I gained a lot of information, but my hands-on, my actual immersion and the understanding of the industry and the plant even more deeply came from my time in Colorado, for sure.
Yeah. And kind of I guess the spirit of the law brought you back to Oklahoma because it's kind of closer to home.
That definitely was a thought. My son was in Fort Smith at the time, and it brought me closer to him. And also, I do still have my brother and sister in Arkansas, so of course I still have ties there. And Darden will always be my home. But it was more so just the fact that the opportunity was there for the business model. So, I worked in Florida for about 6 months. I've been in several different states where Alaska. I tried to really study the cannabis industry in different states. And Oklahoma, for one thing, the cost of living is low here. Again, a beautiful opportunity for a little farm in the mountains. And it was just the right place to go. It was the right time and right opportunity.
So you were always interested in the no pun intended, but the grassroots side, the growth, as opposed to like the business of being like the seller or the retail side.
Yeah. Well, at first when I was in Arkansas and I was going through the process of the petition and just trying to make the program real, actually see that through to fruition. I didn't really, I thought more of a dispensary side. I thought, I love people. I like the interaction with people. But once I actually dove into the industry and found all the different, and I'm sure I don't have all of the different facets, but I know that the retail side is a lot more regulated. It's a lot more. It's funny. When I moved out into the country per se again, and I think COVID had something to do with this as well. I kind of feel like a hermit now. I love the fact that I can just be on my farm all day. Not that I don't still, of course, enjoy people, but it's really nice to have that quiet escape. So the wholesale side of it allows me to still produce and make a product that I hope is going to help people, but I don't have to deal with the day-to-day. I did retail for a very long time, the car dealership with my dad. And again, I loved it. It gave me so much insight into just the psychology of the human being. But being a wholesaler, to me, is much more appealing because I sell one product, I'm done, I can go make another one. I'm flighty. I've got a lot of energy, a lot of nervous energy. I like to be doing 2 or 3 things or 10 at a time.
Oh yeah.
So it allows me to focus on that, where if I were in a retail setting, of course, I would want to be hands-on, and that would be an all day, every day type situation. So I think there's a lot less pressure being a cultivator. I want to farm. I've come to know that that's the thing I love. So not that I don't want to waste my time in a retail setting, because I think that's super important. The dispensary is the link, but yeah, I just think that's not for me anymore.
So you were kind of, you have the farm, and it's what's it, Humbling River Farms?
Yes, Humbling River Farms. We have cannabis. We are licensed cannabis cultivators as well as a licensed hemp farm. So we raise both CBD and then THC medicine.
And how many people are like employed?
So far, right now, just 2 of us, and
cool.
It's definitely full time. But we are a craft business, so we are trying to keep that dialed in so that we can perfect our craft. Perfect our craft, and also, scale up as we can or as we see fit, but always keep our that craft mentality and keep it kind of small and personal. We're looking at some things in the future that are, we see some expansion coming pretty soon, but for right now, just the 2 of us, and it's definitely a full-time job.
So like before setting up the business like that, what kind of permissions or license or anything that you have to apply for? Like, what's the process of starting, or is there like limitations here that can only be so many in this area, or what are some of the details about that?
Okay. Well, we are in Oklahoma regulated by the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, OMA. We call them OMMA. And the licensure for cannabis, there's an application process. You have to be an Oklahoma resident. You have to own or have a lease on property that you can show is allowed to grow cannabis. And, certain regulations we go by. We are licensed through the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs is the actual title. We have a nursery license too. We sell clones. There are several. There's a seed license you can obtain if you choose to sell seeds. So it's an application licensure process on both sides, cannabis and hemp. Pardon me again. And pretty easy compared to the process in Arkansas, which is really the only thing I have to compare it to that I kind of know the ins and outs. A very easy process to get in business. There is no cap on the number of licensures licensed right now in Oklahoma. There is talk of that. Pardon me. Oklahoma is, I think most states come into the cannabis industry. It's referred to, and you'll hear this a lot throughout the industry, as the Wild Wild West. They get a program, they get a program started and in place, and then they kind of have to figure out all the things around it as it goes. Has a lot of moving parts. The cannabis industry, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's changing. There's regulation changes. There's legislative changes going on all the time. I check OMA's website. It's one of the first things I do every morning is get up and check OMA's website just to see if there are any changes that I need to be aware of. So it's definitely interesting, and I think it's one of those industries that you have to be willing to shift on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
and just expect the unexpected. And I like a challenge like that. So it's a good fit for me. Maybe a little nerve wracking at times, but
Do they do inspections? Like they come around and like inspect a place, make sure this is that, or test like, I don't know, you're growing stuff. Do they test like pH levels or soil, or do they get that in depth, or is it just kind of like, make sure that you're, um, keeping within your bounds?
right. As I said, regulations are tightening as we go. There is an inspection process. I think we have around 6,000 growers, cultivators in Oklahoma right now, and that's licensed cultivators, and I think around 2,500 dispensaries. So they're talking about a cap, placing a cap on those at some time in the future. A lot of them, a whole bunch of people came in and got licensed, and I think maybe bit off a little more than they can chew. So there have been a lot of closures and license relinquished over the last couple of years. It is, you asked about the testing process, very strict testing regulations. All the product is tested. The dispensaries won't purchase untested, cannot legally purchase untested product.
Mm-hmm.
If you grow flower, which is what we do, we grow just, the raw flower from the plant, you have a cultivator's license. If you turn that into a process, or a product rather, you have to have a processor's license, which again is a separate licensure. And then of course the final step is the distributor or the dispensary. So, but all of that is tested all the way through. It's tested as raw flower. If you turn it into, let's say, pre-rolls or some type of a concentrate, it's tested again at that point to get your potency, but also to get your milligrams per serving. So, yeah, very very strict licensing process and also testing process.
Sounds like a full-time job.
It is. Compliance is a big thing. You want to make sure that you're doing everything right. So, it definitely, nothing about this is just super simple, but it's wonderful payout when you see your product on the shelf and you know that somebody's getting relief from whatever might be their symptoms, and it's all worth it to me for sure.
Like, what's your, like, most people in businesses, they have like a specialty. Like, some people are good with sales, others are good in like hands-on production. Like, what's your specialty? Is it the sales? Is it the production? Or
I love all of it, Chris.
Oh,
And
yeah?
you know me, I'm a people person. So I do love the marketing sales side of it. Again, I'm not out selling, I'm not in a store selling every day. So when we deliver a product, I like to set up, I've done some Meet the Farmer days and different things I like to set up in the dispensary. And, when I take product over, even if I just stay for an hour, I like to meet the patients and talk to them about the product that I brought out. So far right now, on the cannabis side, we are just selling flower. But I've got some CBD products that we just placed in one of the dispensaries over in Stillwell. So, the days that I actually make deliveries, I try to reach out to the patients. I think that's my thing. The interaction with the patients is probably the thing that I excel in and love the most. But at heart, I'm a gardener. I grow things. I always have. So I don't know that there's any part of this that I don't like. I think the whole process is just amazing. I think it's great that I can work from home for one thing. That's been great, of course, during COVID as well, and that I can take a product to a shelf that I know is going to, maybe hopefully make someone feel better.
Yeah, I think that's really good when you have like an industry you work in that you enjoy, and it doesn't really seem like work. It's just, part of your lifestyle, but it still supports like, your needs and the things that you need to get done.
Yeah, I feel very blessed. It's an amazing opportunity.
And you mentioned like flower. What is flower?
Flower is the bud from the plant, the actual smokable part of smokable. I shouldn't say that. Consumable. There are many different methods of ingestion, but the bud the flower is the actual bud of the plant, the part that we can sell.
That's good. And like when there's elections and things first started and people were making new laws, and there's good. Now I need to clear my voice. There's good sides and there's bad sides about most anything that you do, whether it's the people, product, or red tape. What is the like for what's the bad sides, like the bad reactions that you've had, or maybe the bad experiences that's come up, that the problems that you need to solve, whether it's your customer or the product or anything like that, or people that are trying to slip something past you, or kind of talk about
You know,
that.
yeah, Chris, my biggest challenge was during the campaign, actually. And I saw you on several occasions, at Yale Fest and Dardanelle. We would set up a booth and collect signatures. I did that all over the state. There was a group of volunteers that I was a part of, Arkansans for Compassionate Care. And we went to every festival, anywhere we could be where people were, that we could set up with a petition to try to gain signatures or gather signatures to place the medical program on the ballot. We were there. Like my first interaction with that group was in 2011, and the law passed in 2016. We didn't actually have a program in place until I don't know, or 2018, I don't know, 2020. Yeah. We're 2 years into a program in Arkansas before the patients were even able to obtain their medicine. But my biggest challenges came during that time. And part of that, and I don't regret a minute of it, but part of it was just trying to educate the masses. And, so many people were, again, Arkansas is a very conservative state. Cannabis is controversial. People don't even, I remember one of my first outings was at Toadsuck in Conway festival that they have there every year. And I was just standing in the middle of the road with, the walkway where people were coming in and out with a petition in my hands. And I had people ask me, "Are you from California?" I would say marijuana. At that point, we were calling it marijuana instead of cannabis, which seems to be, a lot of people don't even know what the word cannabis is. They don't even understand the meaning of that. I've been asked that too. But you say the word marijuana out loud on a street in Arkansas, and people gasp. It was just unheard of, unexpected, misunderstanding around it. But we had. During that time, I faced more challenges, people just approaching me, saying some of the most ugly, disrespectful things to me. What do your kids think of you? How could you be out here? Aren't you embarrassed? We had volunteers that were spat upon. Like, people can be really ugly, right?
That's crazy.
But it is crazy. And closed-mindedness, small-minded people who just can't look outside. We were taught, self-included, that cannabis or marijuana was negative. It was a drug. It is a drug. It's bad for you. People are not successful if they use cannabis, and all of this. Dr. Sanjay Gupta came out a couple of years ago and apologized to the U.S. public. He said, I've made a mistake. I've been telling you for years that cannabis or marijuana was bad and you shouldn't use it, and it had all these health problems. And he said, I've come to find out that's wrong. And I want to tell you, as a surgeon, as someone of respect in the medical field, medical community, that was huge for him to come out and say, I was wrong. There's great medicinal properties in the cannabis plant, and we should look at it as medicine. So I feel really happy to know that I hope I changed a couple hearts and minds. I hope people took the information that I could share with them, and of course did their own research, and hopefully came to a little better understanding of cannabis. It wasn't the devil's lettuce or all these things we've heard it described as. And
I think it's kind of people's introduction to it. It's because years ago, how you were introduced to it and its uses, it was not what it is made out to be today. And I think it's more intent. I can say it's like the intent of the individual, just like any other law. I mean, you intend to do bad things, there's going to be bad things that surround it.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. And you can make anything into a negative. You know what I mean? People can abuse cannabis just like any other type of medication. And I look at cannabis. One of my quotes, and I might have stolen this from maybe Steve D'Angelo, says, all cannabis is medicine, but it takes education and patience and understanding to bring that, and that's one of my main goals, and has been for many years, is just to try to erase that stigma and help people on their own. I'm not forceful about my urging to people to educate themselves in cannabis, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll share my information with you. I'll be happy to sit down and talk with you. We can even sample some CBD products, the things that are legal to consume without a card,
Mm-hmm.
and try that and see if it helps you. That's the thing. Everybody is different. That's one of the big challenges with cannabis too. Is it's very much trial and error. There are so many different cultivars or strains, as they're known. So many different methods of ingestion. It's a bit baffling. And again, one of the things I hope to do in my life is to kind of bridge that gap and help people be a little more comfortable in the conversation, to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about it.
It's
Let's
an
talk
evolution.
about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I think everything's evolving, but I mean, it's a little bit more rapid rate than some of your standard industries.
Right. I agree. Totally.
And I've heard different things about, like people market their products in different way, different tastes, different flavors, strains, or anything like that. Do you do you know the process of that? Like, some people would claim that that's like genetically modified.
Well, and maybe I don't understand your question. You're saying that they're changing the aspects of the cannabis plant to make it. Kind of explain that to me a little better, please.
Well, that's some of the talk that I've heard. Like, people have their own. They market their product as their own flavors, and they have different names, and they say this does this or this does that. This has a certain number on it, and some people would claim that they're going into an area where they're actually modifying, not so much as genetically, but they have some way of creating a product. And I don't know the process. I was just wondering if you knew like the exact workings of that.
Well, and that may be something that I just kind of haven't heard of or don't know about yet. But I do know. So let's just say, for instance, one of our most popular cultivars is bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually came from there's a breeder in Colorado that's selling or touting that he has, it is amazing cultivar called bubblegum. And it's crazy that it smells and tastes and smokes like Bazooka Joe. You remember the old Bazooka bubblegum?
Uh-huh.
That's the smell. I'm sure that's where the name came from. So he did not modify that in any way. That is just that particular. And a lot of people use the terminology strain. Just describes the different types of the cannabis plants that are available. I use cultivar just because that's kind of the farm lingo, but the different cultivars that are available have different aspects to them. They call it a phenotypical expression. So this one happens to smell like bubblegum. You can't really do anything to change that. There are terpenes on the plant. The actual bulbous oil producing glands of the plant are called terpenes, and some people are extracting those terpenes and then adding them back to other products. Let's just say that you have a CBD pre-roll cigarette, and I hate to use the word cigarette, but I want people to understand what a pre-roll is. So a pre-roll basically is matter that's actually plant matter that's rolled up into a ready-to-go smokable joint, so per se. They then will add those terpenes back to that product to give it more flavor or make it smell a little better, and that is a way to modify the plant. I'm not into that. I'm into natural healing. I'm into natural medicine. I want the plant to express itself the way nature intended. Now, I won't necessarily say, we might take products and let's just say we grow some flower out and want to make concentrates out of that. That might turn into a smokable oil or something you would use in a vape pen. It could be a shatter or something, a wax that you would smoke as they call it a dab, that you would heat and smoke in a rig or a pipe, as they call it, piece of glass.
And I heard those are pretty. That's like pretty powerful.
Potent, yes, sir. Whenever you take, you basically concentrate the flower and you're making, a pure THC basically product, they are definitely more potent. But as far as genetically modifying the plant, I don't know of anybody that's doing that. I mean, anything's possible, but a lot of people are kind of using their imagination, which I love. It's creativity. I love it, and finding different ways to sell their product.
And it may be just that in the marketing, because they market the flavor, and I'm like, well, how do you change flavors?
Right. Well, the only way, like I said, I know that definitely people are adding the terps or terpenes back in. Not something that I'm interested or even consider doing at this point, but I think that's probably what you're referring to. And cannabis plant's amazing. It's a beautiful plant, grows an amazing flower, and just to watch the process. A lot of our cultivars have a purple hue to them, and it's not like a bouquet of roses, but to me, it's just as beautiful. And they put off their own smell and taste and attributes. So I like leaving that natural.
Mm-hmm. You have your own website.
I do. The farm does not yet, Humbling River Farms, but we have several branches that we're working on. We're actually expanding a bit, like I stated. And one of the things that I'm doing on the CBD side, I have a website. It's called earthmeds.com, and it's spelled URTH, earthmeds.com. And what I have on there are some products that I'm making. And not everything is CBD infused. I have a elderberry elixir on there that's not. It's just an amazing elderberry product. But I have some things that I'm working on on the CBD side are available on the website. And I do also partner with a couple of companies, a very select few. One of them is Ozark Mountain Medicine, which is a hemp grower. A great friend of mine, Bill Morgan, over in Fayetteville, Arkansas, has produced a really nice CBD flower that he has available in pre-rolls. So I have his product on my website as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, do you just do that main product, or is there like gummies or like gel caps or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, not so far. We do have to do anything edible or consumable by mouth. We have to have a food processor's license and a commercial kitchen. So those are some things we're working on right now. Yeah. So the things I have available right now are non-edible form. I just put out just this last week. I'm pretty excited about this. I've created I'm calling it an old-fashioned liniment. And it's a CBD infused oil-based salve, so to speak, that I originally pain relief and insomnia are two very common issues with just about anybody. Mm-hmm. Anybody you talk to could tell you that they have some pain somewhere, and they probably at times have trouble sleeping. So my main focus of the salve initially was to give people some pain relief. And I've come to find out, and the reason I just through some R&D, that product is really amazing for many different things. It's great for dry skin. It's great for sunburn relief. So I ended up calling it a liniment because if you recall, if you do a little research on that word back in the old days, a liniment was used for it was a oil-based pain relief, but people used it on themselves, on their horses, on their children. It was kind of just an all-around. Like I said, a liniment. So
I think they have that for some Muay Thai fighters. They have the liniment thing that they rub on before a fight or before training.
That's it. Yeah. And this product is amazing. I have a couple people that I've included in my R&D process that I've just sent out samples, and everybody loves it. It has a real nice. It's a lemon. I have added a lemon eucalyptus essential oil, so it has a real nice, pleasant smell. It's not real medicinal. A lot of those liniments smell really strong from camphor or menthol.
Oh yeah.
So this has a little more pleasant smell, and I'm really excited about it. And I try to do things old school. I like the vintage aspect. I'm selling that in a mason jar. It's in a reusable little mason jar. So that's available.
That's good.
I have, I also do bath bombs. And they are CBD infused. That's really nice. I think I have 5 different ones on the side, or 6 right now. There's some different things out there, not just the pre-rolls, and more things coming. I'm a kitchen witch at heart. I love getting in the kitchen and stirring up a cauldron of something or other, and so who knows what'll be coming on there. I'm excited about it. I'm I'm excited again always to have be able to use my hands to create something that I know can help people, feel better.
Like when you do your consulting and people are asking you about different things, do you find that some people just like they want to kind of like jump on the fad too early without like taking care of their foundational health first? They're looking for that. That's crazy word, but they're looking for that quick fix because I see people and they want to get fit or they want to do other things too, and everybody likes to do it as quick as they can, so they look for the quick fix, the one pill that fixes all. Do you find that when in some people?
Oh yeah, I think that's human nature. Everybody wants to lose weight right now. Everybody wants to feel better immediately. One of the things about that salve, and I can't really explain how this works. I can't explain it at all. But there's something about the CBD that just, especially for pain relief. I have a customer friend, lovely lady. She's actually going into surgery this morning. I'm sending her some good vibes and prayers this morning. But she had a back injury that has haunted her. She had an accident years ago, and she has a lot of issues with her lower back. And she, as most people are, have found that pharmaceuticals, the opioid problem in our world is insane. And so many people are medicating right now for pain relief with opioids, and it's addictive. You saw this through your time as a police officer. It ruins families and careers and lives. So many people, I think, are searching for some alternative. And this friend has started to use this salve, and she told me that the relief was immediate. So, that's an amazing thing to tout. And again, I can't. It's not a long lasting thing. It's not like
you're totally cured, that type of thing.
No, but you wake up in the morning with some back. Say you're working out today, you're practicing Muay Thai today, and you go in with some achy muscles. It's a whole lot easier to start your day if you can get a handle on that before you go. You're going to be sore from working out or just life in general. Back pain is a terrible thing to deal with on a daily basis. It's there whether you're sitting, standing, walking. Back pain is a tremendous issue, and I think a lot of people. I think that's where a lot of our opioid addiction comes from initially, is people have lower back pain. And, most physicians will prescribe, you talk about a quick fix, they're just putting a Band-Aid on your pain. Or, they're not relieving the problem, they're just relieving the symptoms. And it's the same way with this salve, except there are no side effects. There are no negatives to it. You're not going to become addicted. You're not going to have withdrawals. And cannabis as a whole, that is not part of this medicine, which is amazing. There are many people right now who have been able to at least reduce the amount of pharmaceuticals they're using based on their, now consumption of cannabis in some form. I don't think there is a quick fix. I think that no matter what you go about in life, that's kind of a joke. We all search for it, of course. We are impatient and I want things to be better, whatever that situation may be immediately. But I love the fact that people can begin to consume, or especially with the salve, to see immediate results. That's just an amazing feat.
Yeah, because I've had people, help people out with their health, their eating, and things like that. And one of the things that the people want to see results, but some people have a tendency to reach for like say they would reach for, and it's just a comparison, not a comparison, but an example. They would reach for a specific vitamin, like I'm going to take this zinc, but I'm not going to bother eating, the things that I know I should be eating, because I'm expecting this zinc to cure all my problems, and that's going to give like zinc the bad reputation, and it didn't work when it can work in conjunction with other things.
Right.
You kind of see the comparison. And I think that would, like, when you're selling something, I think that misunderstanding misrepresents the product, and when they'll take it and they'll think, well, this doesn't do anything and this doesn't help, when there's actually other things that you can do to help, and that gives your product that credibility to go along with the other things, because you can't have a replacement for something it's not meant for.
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, that's a bit of of a challenge still, and will be for some time until there's more science behind the actual medicine, cannabis as medicine.
Hmm.
It's a trial and error, and there's so many different cultivars available, so many different ingestion methods. You have to figure out what works for you, and patience is a key in this medication process, because it's not always the first thing you try. It may not be the first 10 things you try.
Hmm.
So that is something that, upon consulting with a patient, I try to make really clear, this will work, but we have to find the right combination for you. You may need zinc in addition to your cannabis consumption,
Yeah.
I strive to be healthy. I try to share my healthy regimens with others, and it's a big picture. It's not, you're right, it's not just one supplement. You have to make changes in your life to make things different, and it's no different with cannabis medicine. And I
Hmm.
do think there have been studies done that show that cannabis consumers generally have less body fat, are generally healthier. You talk about that zinc. It reminds me, I remember having a conversation with a friend who had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes,
Oh, wow.
and he didn't change his eating habits. He got medication,
Hmm.
and knew in his heart that now that he takes medication, he could just eat whatever he wanted to, and his blood sugar
Shoot.
would be fine. And so is not how it works, right?
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about, and we are out for everybody. Human nature is to get that quick fix, but um, just like anything else, it's patience and time, and again, trial and error to find out exactly what works for you. And that's with any medication. Again, the good thing is that you don't have all the unwanted side effects as you're going through the cannabis process. Trying to figure out what works for you. You
Hmm.
don't have There's no risk of those sometimes deadly side effects that come with pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah. And whoever's prescribing it repeatedly.
Right, absolutely. It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And my father was an amazing man, but he was injured, had a really bad car accident when I was about 4 years old, and I don't remember
Hmm.
him not being crippled. He had walked with a cane most of my whole life, and he at one point became addicted to pharmaceutical after many, many years. Well, he was probably addicted for many years, and I just didn't realize it. But
Hmm.
after many years of taking, I don't even, I don't even know if we had hydrocodone then. What his
It's probably just called something else.
Probably so. But, at some point way later in life, he decided to stop. And what's crazy is, and it was a hard process, he nearly died through that process, terrible withdrawals from years
Wow.
of using, doctor prescribed, legitimate legal medicine, nearly killed him when he decided to stop. But after that, he was the most pleasant, wonderful person, and he could take a couple Tylenol and feel just as good as he did, or better,
Hmm.
consuming all of those pharmaceuticals. So,
I didn't know
um,
that.
yeah, that's part of my drive toward cannabis too. I did not ever want to be dependent on pharmaceuticals, the way my father was. That was
Hmm.
a hard thing to watch. And most people didn't know. He went about daily business as usual, but
Is there also I've seen some stuff on your Facebook, some different things like what's your newest product that you have? Like what's the
well, that
latest?
yeah, that liniment is my latest project, and I just actually got it up on the website this last weekend.
Hmm.
Um, and I've sold a bit already. It's a good product. It's a little bit more difficult to market online than having a retail store, a brick and mortar situation. So those are some challenges. It's the way of the future, of course.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to be able to get online and click a button and purchase, and I keep mentioning COVID, but we've learned a lot of things over the last year that we can have things delivered to our home, and so it's a really cool aspect not to have to have all the challenges and demands that come with a brick and mortar retail operation, to be able to
Yeah, you
make
can reach more
products.
people.
Absolutely. And again, I have the luxury of being able to do that from home, and I can't say enough how fortunate I feel.
Hmm. Something I was going to ask, kind of forgot. Mm.
Mhm.
uh, I may already ask you this, but I'm not sure. But if I have, you don't have to answer. Walk me through like a day for you. Like what's your day start and where does it end as far as like work?
Okay. Yeah. And you haven't asked me that. So I don't set an alarm, which is a wonderful thing, but I do tend to get up a little, usually pretty early. Um, we have when you farm indoors, when you farm cannabis indoors, there are light cycles, certain light cycles you keep your plants on, and so lights on at 8 for me right now. So at 8 in the morning, the plants wake up, I wake up, I make sure that everybody's, kind of do a quick once over and just make sure there's not any kind of issues. We have dehumidifiers running. I make sure they're taken care of, and fans and just everything's going right, for the day, for the start of the day. I spend a lot of time, this is funny, and it's kind of one of those things. It's like, it's like doing laundry. One of the tedious things that I do is cleaning and reusing, because we try to recycle as much as we can. We reuse our grow pots and trays and things like that. So I usually spend some time, washing containers and making sure that everything's sterilized and clean for the next process. I do garden, I have a vegetable garden, and I try to devote a little bit of my time each day to that. But one of my best things of the day is that I'm a tea drinker, not coffee, but I get a tea and go out on the porch. That's kind of my porch time is important to me. And I try to handle as much business as I can out there on the phone. It's quiet. The birds are out there, just me and nature. And I try to kind of use that as an outdoor office, and, check emails, return calls, things like
nice.
that. And then there's a process of watering or feeding the plants. That's my duty as well. So that usually takes me an hour or two to just make sure everybody's fed or watered, or, whatever they need. A lot of attention to the girls. They demand a lot of attention, and probably 4 or 5 hours of every day is just, to make sure that everything's going good in the garden. I try really hard as I've matured in my life to just have a little bit of quiet time. So I try to take an hour a day, whether I'm meditating or maybe take a hot bath or take a walk or something, just a little bit of time for myself. I don't have I owned a gym for a while, and I try to be as physically fit as I can. And farming's hard work. It's physical labor. Yeah. So I try to, I don't necessarily do a workout regimen anymore, but I do get a lot of outdoor time and a lot of lifting and stooping and walking. So
definitely a lot of moving during the day.
And I try to, really take advantage of that. And I don't take shortcuts. If I need to walk and do something, I try to get my steps in. I try to make sure that I'm still staying as fit as I can while I'm working, because it's so important. It's like a fighter. You have to train to do this job. It is very physically demanding, but I think it's keeping me healthy. I think on top of the fact that I am a cannabis consumer and I try to eat healthy, I think my job as a farmer is as challenging, and physically as well as mentally, and it keeps me fit.
That's cool. Did you ever think that, like, where we grew up as opposed to where you now, did you ever think that you would be doing what you're doing?
No, I had no idea. And one thing too that's kind of funny, I never thought I would live in Oklahoma. I just thought there's nothing in Oklahoma that I care to be around. I like the beach and the mountains, and I didn't even realize this part of Oklahoma existed. But no, I did not see myself in Oklahoma or in the cannabis industry.
Just goes to show you never know where, life's going to take you.
No. And I didn't start this business until 2019 is when I licensed. And I also became a massage therapist in my 40s. I want to let people know a couple of things. First of all, you never know. You're right. You can't predict the future. I like to say nothing's permanent. Anything can change on a dime. I saw myself married, living in Arkansas, handing down property to my children. That would be where I was forever, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for sure. Things change, but I feel like I'm more myself now than I ever have been. And not only, I've lost and kept off about 80 pounds. I think a lot of that is due to my cannabis consumption. We have a system in our body called the endocannabinoid system that a lot of people aren't even aware of. They know
Mm-hmm.
about the digestive system and the nervous system, but until just a few years ago, people weren't aware, and a lot of people, like I said, still aren't, that we have an endocannabinoid system, and our body needs these cannabinoids. We used to obtain it, many years ago. Hemp was grown. In days of George Washington, from what I understand, farmers were required to plant a quarter of their fields in hemp because it was such a sought after product, and our cows ate the hemp and we ate the meat and drank the milk, and we were consuming hemp and CBD cannabinoids long ago. And then as cannabis became, taboo and outlawed, that changed. And I think that's a lot of the reason for many of our health problems in society today, that we aren't feeding our endocannabinoid system. You're talking about supplements and eating healthy.
Yeah.
I use in the raw leaf of cannabis, one of the cannabinoids is THCA, and it's an acid. Before you actually heat or add heat to THC, you have THCA, and that is just in its natural form. And I try to consume THCA daily. I juice the raw leaves of the plant. I just throw some in my smoothie. I'm a smoothie girl. I like to make a good healthy smoothie.
Oh, yeah.
I consume those raw leaves. I use hemp seed on and in just about everything that I consume.
Do they not change the? Does it not change when it hits the body? Is it still like acidic, or is it changed to like?
It's not considered, and I'm talking way probably over my pay level, my pay grade here. It's not an acid per se. I don't think it's going to cause your pH level to be off as far as to cause your system to be acidic.
Yeah.
But it's just the processes or the component of the plant is an acid form, considered an acid before it's changed into the actual hallucinogen, which it is, of the THC. I think I got way off on something there. You were asking me about, did I ever see myself here? I during that weight loss process, I didn't really try to lose weight. I was feeding my endocannabinoid system what it needed. And I think that the only thing I can say about that, because it just happened, I feel it's not a normal thing, and people sometimes don't believe me. I've had people ask, what kind of weight loss surgery did you have? And I have to say, I didn't. I started feeding my body what it needed, and part of that was the cannabinoids of the cannabis plant. And I think it just brings you back to a state of perfect, or as near can be, homeostasis, and your body just starts to work the way it's meant to. Your metabolism is functioning again the way that it's meant to. And I can't sing those praises. Like, that was a huge change in my life. I was as healthy as I was trying to be, and eating right, and I felt like doing all the right things. There was just something about my body that it wasn't functioning properly. And once I, started to consume cannabis and feed my endocannabinoid system, it just jumped into high gear. And, I've kept that weight off. I don't know of a better way to say, hey, this product can help you in so many ways. And if weight loss is a side effect of that, thank God, because that probably saved my life. I was healthy. I didn't have, health problems as far as cholesterol, blood sugar, anything like that. But you think about carrying around 80 pounds. I mean, that's a small human. That's a lot of weight to lose, and a lot of stress on your joints and your heart, your blood vessels. That's just a lot of stress on your body. So that's an important part of my story that I want to share with people.
Yeah. Let me, and you may not know the answer, and, obviously you don't have to answer, but what do you think about, there are some stories that I've heard and some facts from different people's, like, your age and your body makeup, between the ages of 18 and 26, your frontal lobe development and the process there. Like, you have somebody that comes to you that's on the younger side, and they think they need some help. And they actually don't need it. Would you suggest them waiting as opposed to just going on about their business? Well,
That it might interfere with the process of their. Are you saying that it might interfere with their thought process as a young person? They're just not brain hasn't finished developing. Is that what you're saying,
yeah.
basically?
Yeah. Is there like a
Um,
basis or anything to, like, that you question or used on that? Like, do you have any experience there?
I'm going to say a hard no on that one, and I'm going to use a couple examples. There was a young lady, and a lot of people have heard of Charlotte's Web. That's a cultivar that was created for a young girl named Charlotte Figi from Colorado who suffered from Dravet syndrome. She was a twin. She passed away this last year due to COVID, which is super sad. Um, she was experiencing, I think the numbers like 300 seizures a day. And this started when she was very young, maybe 18 months, 24 months old, something like that.
Yeah, I think I heard of
And
that.
she was basically in a catatonic state. She was in a wheelchair that, she basically had no quality of life and was in a constant state of seizure. And it had obviously caused some developmental delays, and, was affecting her so tremendously. And basically her parents were told to make her comfortable, that they tried different pharmaceuticals and just nothing was working. And someone introduced her mom, Paige, an amazing human being, to cannabis and the possibility of it, affecting Charlotte. And the first day that Charlotte was introduced to cannabis oil, and I'm not sure the exact product that they gave her at that time, but her seizures, like, she went several days without a seizure after being in a constant state of seizing for years. She ended up regaining her ability to walk, ride a bike. She was able to go to school. Such an amazing story. She set the CBD market, brought that to light, and so many children. There was a huge movement a couple of years ago, and these people were touted as refugees. That so many people with young children were moving to Colorado so they could they knew Charlotte's story, and they were trying to get medicine for their children, save their children's lives. And like I said, it's a super sad story that she ended up passing away from COVID. But what a remarkable story to tell, and so much hope for people who have children who haven't found a cure, don't have a means of controlling seizure activity in their children. So I would have to say, in that respect, no. I mean, the benefits far outweigh the risk. Also, there's a young man who I've met who I adore, Colton Turner, and his motto is, "I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead." He suffered from Crohn's, terrible Crohn's, and ended up with his father moving to Colorado, leaving their family, moving to Colorado. I can't remember his age, maybe 14, something around that. Moved to Colorado with his dad, and just to try to obtain medicine from him because he could not get. He was dying. He weighed 40 pounds and was in a wheelchair when they moved to Colorado, and ended up in complete remission from his Crohn's, and is just doing wonderful. And he's traveling around the country. He has a foundation now. Colton's crew is part of this illegally healed. Several different slogans that go along with his organization, his foundation. But what an amazing young man! And at 18, was traveling around trying to share his story with others, so that he could, bring the miracle that he feels cannabis has saved his life. So I think that, again, the benefits far outweigh the risk. Colton's been consuming since he was 14. He's gone through those formative years, that time that you're speaking of. That I guess he's still in it. I think he's 21 now. But what an amazing recovery, and with no side effects. So I don't know. I'm not buying into all that. I'm not saying there aren't specific instances where it could be detrimental. I don't know of any. But I'm not saying anything's possible. You may just have some genetic makeup that cannabis, you may be allergic, or I don't know. Some crazy things could happen, I guess. But
I would just think about the person that just wants to do it, as opposed to somebody that actually knew that they had a need for it.
Right. And Chris, I'm a fan of cannabis as recreation. If someone, I'm just kind of okay with, you do whatever you want to do, and I'm okay with it. It doesn't affect me. if someone wants to use cannabis recreationally, I'm not opposed to that. I don't live in a state where that's legal. And I think the medical program is so important. I think it's first and foremost, we should look at cannabis as medicine. But I don't see the instances of abuse or any specific issues with someone using it as recreational, as a recreational
And I
facet
was
as well.
taking some of that from some of the people that I've been in touch with, and some of the people that is how they have some other podcasts and things like that. They've talked about those types of things, and the benefits of being who you are before interrupting your system with something that you don't need,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, at the time. But that's probably a whole different type of podcast.
Well, it could be, definitely, yes, a lot to talk about there. But I do want to say, my partner, we've had this conversation about people from the time you're a little child, and this is kind of his explanation, which I love. You want to change your reality, your perception of reality. You want to sit on a sit and spin and make yourself dizzy, or you want to swing really high and kind of get the adrenaline, from that. We're constantly looking for something, again, as humans, as mammals, all animals, you'll see a squirrel or a monkey you've seen on videos, I'm sure, in areas where they can get to alcohol or get to fermenting fruit.
Yeah.
Just gorge themselves and lay around drunk for the day. I think people are looking for a way to alter their perception. And I think that's just, again, human nature. So, I can't fault anyone for wanting to change their mindset for a little while. A lot of great artists, a lot of creativity comes from people using different hallucinogens. You and I have had conversations over the years about psilocybin and DMT and different things. So, I'm one of those people, free loving hippie, whatever, you do your thing. If it's good for you and it doesn't affect anybody else, it doesn't affect me. But I think that's just human nature to want to, I was a drinker for a long time. I don't really drink anymore. I might have a beer on occasion now, but I think I think I self-medicated. I can seriously say that during, times in my life where I wasn't, I was having some depression or anxiety or whatever it might be. I think a lot of people do that, with many different means. And I chose alcohol for a while, and I'm so thankful now that I don't need that anymore. And if I do, yeah, and, I've heard some funny stories too about, well, the worst thing that happens when you smoke some cannabis is that you're going to, want some Cheetos or something, or you're going to, veg out in front of the television. No harm, no foul to anybody if that's what they choose to do. But I do think that it's just nature, human nature, to look for that little bit of alteration and perception.
Mm-hmm. All right. We've been going about an hour here. I was going to ask you a little bit about, because I know you said you do the masseuse, and you still do that as well, or you just...
Yeah, I'm not practicing. I kept my license. I transferred to Colorado and then, of course, to Oklahoma. And I do have my license. But it's the fourth time I've said COVID now, but it's been a reality, for the last year. And I just haven't been super crazy about being that close and up close and personal, intimate, you can say, with another human. I had just started practicing in a little salon in Southall. They asked me to come over and do massage there. And I'd seen a couple of clients right before the big outbreak of COVID. And so I just kind of put all that on hold. I'm not really sure where that's going to go.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think some people understand. They see people kind of like go off to themselves, and the reality is, they can't afford to be sick because time is a lot of their life. And that's kind of the way it is with me.
Right.
If I lose a lot of time where I can't do nothing, then I get really, really behind. So you have to have to be well to do the things that you need to do to sustain. And it's not
absolutely.
It's not a fact that, I have my freedom to be a hermit as well as you have your freedom not to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just choices.
Right. And I think especially during this last year, I had a little conversation with my partner and my son, and we were on the farm one day, and I said, one of the things that I want to let both of you know is that I'm not going to hold anything against you. Any decisions you make this year, we make them as a team. I'm going to support that because everybody had to handle that time, and still ongoing. I'm talking about it as if it's past tense. I don't think we're completely over it yet. I've been vaccinated, by the way. What about you?
I hadn't.
Chosen not to? Yeah. And again, each their own, my son has, my daughter hasn't. I think that everybody, it's such a crazy time in our life, and something we've never experienced before, that I just decided early on I wasn't going to hold anybody accountable too heavily for, emotion or whatever might go on through this time, because it was uncharted waters. Nobody knew how to muddle through all that. So whether you choose to wear a mask or not, or go out in public or not, everybody, I think it was such a crucial time, and everybody had to make the best choice for themselves.
That's what I did my last podcast over. It was like some wearing mask.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's unfortunately been a big part of our life. So I'm hopeful that it's on the downswing and we can move on.
And there's still time like to get vaccinated. If you hadn't already, it's your choice whether you want to. I just choose to not do it now because if I choose to do it later, I might. It's not something I put out of my mind, but I just know you remember the flu clinics we had in Darnell? You remember those?
Yeah. The fire department, yeah.
Yeah, I wound up,
I didn't go.
Yeah, I wound up getting one then, and I wasn't going to get one. And those 2 times that I got shots, I really got sick.
Right.
And I was told some things about those shots, and I just don't do well with them. So,
Well, like I said, each their own. Literally every body is different. And some people, whether it's I'll tell you, I've had some allergic reactions, some weird things happen in the last few years, allergies, reactions to things that I'd never had before. And I think that's just part of maturing, that different, your body changes. And I was a little hesitant at first. But I've had a couple of tired days with the second vaccine, but nothing major, and I'm glad I did it now. I do feel I'm still very aware, and I try to be respectful if there's a situation where a mask is warranted. There's still stores here anyway that
have you wear them,
have a sign on the door, and of course. Yeah, and I'm going to respect that,
Yeah.
And if I'm around people who are not vaccinated, I'm going to definitely be respectful. But I think it's one of those things, definitely one of those, each to their own situations with that too.
Yeah, because during that whole time I had a bout of eczema. I mean, I still have it, but it's what they call the autoimmune, and I'm like, man, I didn't know autoimmune reached all the way into allergies. So it gives you another perspective and something else to just. Health-wise to think about.
Right.
And that stuff makes you clear up your diet. You don't have a choice.
Right. I can't stress enough, you just mentioned this again, to be ready to take on your challenges of the day. I think about every day as I'm training for a marathon, maybe not literally a marathon, but I think about the fact that I can't do what I'm doing if I'm not healthy.
Yeah.
And I didn't always put my health at the forefront. I spent many years as a busy entrepreneur in Darnell. I had 4 or 5 businesses going, and two college athletes playing ball in different directions, and a kind of a crazy busy life. And I didn't pay as much attention to my health at that time as I know now that I should have. So I totally have a different perspective, and I make that my priority every day. I can't say enough about drinking good, just having good, clean water available to you, and consuming enough water in a day. You don't realize how much your body needs and demands, and we don't.
Oh, that's
we
for
don't
sure.
do that. Yeah, we don't get the water we need. When I was in Colorado, I didn't realize how scarce, what a precious resource water was until I was in Colorado, and I lived real close to the Arkansas River, ironically enough. When I was there, and there's one spot in Pueblo, the city where I lived, that you could stand across a ditch. It was basically the width of a sidewalk, and that was the Arkansas River running through Colorado. And people were buying what's called ditch shares to get water. They would take a pay X number of dollars a month and you can take a 55-gallon drum or whatever you choose and actually put a pump down in that little piece of the Arkansas River and
Wow.
pump water out, and not to get off on that, but I just can't say enough about good, healthy drinking water and how important it is to us.
Yeah, that's for sure. It probably don't get what we need, but I mean, do what I can.
Yeah, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Staying healthy, generally speaking, is just so important, especially as we age.
Yeah, it's the first thing I usually tell people if, I'm telling them, get a gallon of water a day, and they're like, that's too much, and the drinking water here is nasty. Well, I get bottled water, but they don't like that because of the plastic, and I'm like, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
I said, then you can make adjustments to better water if you want to, but
right.
get something. It's better than having nothing.
Right, absolutely.
But I ask you a couple of more things before we get out here. Your websites that you want to plug?
I will say, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Ms. Ganjapreneur. And then the website is Earth Meds, and that's spelled URTH, earthmeds.com. And we can, of course, legally sell THC products online or across state lines at this point. So everything that's on my website is CBD only and legal to ship, all 50 states. And yeah, just Humbling River Farms. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Humbling River Hemp and Humbling River Cannabis. We have both of those things going and are expanding and have some big things coming up in the near future. So stay tuned.
Cool. And I'll put some of these, if you're wondering about the spellings, I'll put some of these in the show notes. And, when I make the post on there, I'll be sure to post up some spellings for you guys in case you didn't get those. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
You bet, Chris. It's great to talk to you again.
Cool.
I appreciate you.